What is up everyone, and welcome back to some more F1 23 My Team career mode, and we are here for round number 21 of season 7 of our Jaguar Racing career. We have just 3 races left in the season in the career mode until things are done, and things have never been more desperate than they are in this moment. We currently sit 52 points behind George Russell in the drivers' standings, and there are just 3 races left to go. We're running off the back of a mechanical failure that happened last time in Mexico, when we were looking like we may have been on course to win the race, or at the very least get you know, a P2, and yeah, things were really looking up for us. It was looking like we were going to close the gap to Russell in the championship. Not to be, unfortunately. He came home in P2 in that race, just behind Dennis Hauger, and we finished, well, we didn't finish at all, in fact. So yeah, we now sit 52 points behind him in the championship, 3 races to go. In order to have any chance of getting back in this championship fight now, I'm basically going to need him to have a pointless race, a race where he scores literally 0 points. It's not even just going to be good enough now for me to outperform him, or outperform him by like a few positions. Now we're going to have to hope that not only are we getting probably at least 2 race wins from these last 3 races at a minimum, I'm also going to have to hope that he scores, you know, no higher than P8 probably in at least 2 of these races as well, for me to have any chance of getting back into this championship. So yeah, we're really going to have to pray that things work out for us. Here in Portugal, there is a very good chance that we can get a victory here, especially considering how good we've looked in previous races as well, tracks that perhaps I'm not typically so good at. Portugal is a circuit that I have, of course, in the past won at before. I won here in season 2, I believe. That was one of my first wins in Formula 1. I remember I had a win in Canada that year, then a win in Brazil, and we did back-to-back wins in Brazil and Portugal, if I remember correctly. So I'm hoping that we can successfully get another win here today. But I mean, we didn't have particularly good pace in practice. Yes, most people did do soft compound runs, but you would anticipate that I would probably have a pretty good time even on the medium compound tyres. So yeah, I was a little bit thrown off by that, but I'm hoping that we can put those problems behind us and get a good run in practice. Now, you'll notice as we make our way into the practice session in the little intro cutscene here that, of course, it's not raining. Now that's going to be very, very important, because what you are going to see as soon as we switch to my first flying lap in Q1 is that it is soaking and I'm on a set of intermediate tyres. I actually did almost finish a full flying lap before this on soft compound tyres, but it was so wet that I was like 5 seconds behind the fastest intermediate runner by that point, so I was like, well, there's no point finishing this lap. I'm just going to go and switch onto a set of intermediate tyres and hope for the best. And we actually managed to put it P5, which went down to P8 on our final flying lap. The track almost completely dried out by the end of my second flying lap on a set of intermediate compound tyres. And so it's no real surprise I was able to do a 121 on those intermediate tyres, and that was more than good enough for P1 by the time that we crossed the line. So yeah, we're looking good here, but it's not really comparable because nobody else really went out in the same conditions we did. I had a mini heart attack here when Charles Leclerc wasn't in the top 14, but he was 15th fortunately, so he has made it through. And knocked out is Nick De Vries, Kevin Magnussen, Jack Doohan, Joe Guan Yu, Lance Stroll, and Alex Albon. Albon, by far the biggest name, knocked out here in Q1. A bit of a bizarre decision from him not to do a lap time at all, but I'm pretty happy with that, as it might have potentially put Charles Leclerc at risk had he done a lap time. We'll never know. It was bright and sunny, and we were on the soft compound tyres to kick things off here in Q2. This was the same set of tyres I tried to do a lap on in Q1 that ultimately didn't really go anywhere. We did a 1:15.7 on a semi-used set of soft compound tyres, but I'm hoping that we can find a bit of improvement on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. And whilst that initial run would have been good enough for P10 regardless, we did manage to improve by just shy of 0.6 of a second as we come on the run to the line. It's a 1:15.1 here in Portugal, and that will be good enough to put us in P2. So I'm quite happy with that, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to deliver a similar sort of lap time in Q3. And you can see Lando Norris was 1,000th of a second faster than me. Leclerc has made it through. Russell, crucially, has made it through. But in terms of the team's championship, Ocon has been knocked out here alongside Hauger, Sonoda, Gasly, Pourchaire, and Fittipaldi. So a real opportunity for us to claim some points back in the Constructors' Championship fight over the Red Bulls. We'll see whether we are capable of closing that one out or not, because I mean, we looked pretty good for it in Mexico, and unfortunately it didn't really happen Verstappen. Yeah, we'll have to hope that we can get a good qualifying performance here as a team. You can see that I left it quite late because once again I tried going out on a set of soft compound tyres, and immediately it just proved not to be the right decision because it is raining once again here in Q3. So we ended up doing our lap on a set of intermediate compound tyres, and unfortunately because we went out later than everyone else, we could only do a 1:24.2. We managed to beat Verstappen's fastest time on the soft compound tyres, but that is the only time that we managed to go faster than. And you can see that despite my best efforts on another set of intermediate tyres, we could not find the improvement we needed, and we actually ended up going about a tenth slower, and it's a 1:24.3 on our final flying lap, which means that we will stay in P9, and we will be starting in 9th place for the Portuguese Grand Prix, a long way off where we wanted to be.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3, Leclerc, Norris and Oscar Piastri. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Well, even if things are looking dire in the Drivers' Championship, in the Teams' Championship, things might just be looking up here because Charles Leclerc has bagged pole position here for the Portuguese Grand Prix, and I'm going to hope that he can deliver a strong performance. We're going to try and work our way through the field as well, but we are really going to have to put on a show here, and we will see what we can do as we get into the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. 2.9 miles of track at Portimao, featuring 15 turns, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. A lot going on at this track, a lot of elevation changes that will affect the driver's braking and acceleration. Keep an eye out for the DRS zone on the final straight, as that'll be the setup for a lot of today's overtaking opportunities. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Russell, Perez, Liam Lawson, Sargent, Vesti, Robinson, Verstappen, Hauger, Gasly, Ocon, Teo Porcher, Fittipaldi, De Vries, Magnussen, Doohan, Joe, Stroll, Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda. And now it's time to head down to the track. A warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who is beside me in the commentary box today. Joined once again by former Formula One driver Anthony Davidson. And they've had a lot of on-track incidents recently that could leave them low on confidence.
Certainly confidence is an important factor, and every time you're involved in an accident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers are able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
Okay, mate, only 3 races left and you've still got a chance at the title, but if we're going to win it, we're going to need some very special performances in every one of those 3, and it starts here. Let's see what you can do today.
I couldn't agree more with what Mark has just said there. We are going to need the form of our life in these last 3 races, and they are coming at some very, very difficult tracks as well. Portugal obviously is the one that I feel the most optimistic about, but we are going to need to deliver not only in Las Vegas but also in Abu Dhabi, that circuit which has been the bane of my existence in so many of these Formula One seasons. You know, in Season 4 is where we lost the driver's title, in Season 5 is where we lost the constructor's title, and now in Season 7 it may be another time that we will be potentially edged out of a championship, but we've got to even stay in the championship fight before then, so we will have to see what we can do and whether we can deliver a good performance here as the lights come on and the lights go out. And it seems like Leclerc's had a very good getaway from the start. We are trying to jostle for position here ourselves, and we've already made up a few positions here. I can't quite tell where we are. I think we're just about to go around the outside of Liam Lawson, and we're up into 4th place, so that is 4 positions gained off of the start there, and we are going up the inside of George Russell now, and somehow from P9 on the grid we have made our way up into P3. We're onto the podium ahead of George Russell already, and he will be looking ahead of him at the rear wing of this Jaguar Racing car and going, how the hell hell has that happened? How the hell have I fallen behind the person who I'm rivaling in the championship already? There was no question about it. I had to outscore George Russell today, and already we're looking good to be able to do that. We've already gotten ahead of him, and we seem to have pretty good pace here as well. Lando Norris has already pulled over a second away from us, so hopefully I'll be able to close that gap by the time we get to the start of lap number 3. Otherwise we're going to be very susceptible to George Russell behind us. It is an absolute priority. I must be in the DRS range of Lando Norris by the time we get there. I'm hoping that Charles Leclerc will be able to see the greater good. Yes, I know he's fighting over P3 in the Drivers' Championship with this man in front of us, actually, Lando Norris. He's one of the drivers who is looking like an absolute favourite for that. I think Logan Sargent might be involved in that battle as well, although I might be mistaking him with somebody else. And yeah, right now it looks like the top 5 drivers in the championship all season are the top 5 drivers in the race, not necessarily in that particular order, but the gang is all here right now, so we will see who is able to prevail as we desperately try and close that gap to Lando Norris. It's just over 1 second at the moment, but crucially by the time we get to the end of lap 2 you can see it is 0.8 of a second, and so we are staying in that DRS range. We're pulling away from George Russell as well, and my pace is looking very good here, so I think hopefully Charles Leclerc will be able to see the greater good when I get behind him, and he will move out the way and allow us to overtake him. But before we get ahead of him, we've got to get ahead of the man that's currently hounding him for P1 in the race, Lando Norris. I'm going to see if I can get ahead of him sooner rather than later. But I mean, look, he is quite fast in that Mercedes by the looks of things. We're going to have that DRS on him though, but he will have DRS to Charles Leclerc in front as well. So I need Leclerc to at least temporarily try and pull away if he can, to try and allow me the best possible opportunity to overtake Lando Norris that I can get. We were not close enough to be able to do it going into lap 4, but maybe we'll be able to have another opportunity going into the following lap. The next DRS zone on this track, not really one that's particularly easy for overtaking. Seems like there's some kind of yellow flag behind. Hopefully that won't bring out a safety car or anything like that until I've got the move completed, because this time Lando Norris is nowhere near as close to Leclerc as he was before, and he is right in our clutches. He did have the DRS. We make a bit of contact with him there, go up the inside, hop over the curb, and ultimately squeeze him out. As you can see, Liam Lawson was the driver who was bringing out the yellow flags as he retires from the Grand Prix here at the end of what was lap 4 for him by the looks of things. We'll see. It was just a straight mechanical failure for the New Zealander driver. A shame for him, because he was of course running in the points in this race. He's had an absolutely blinding season, as is his teammate Enzo Fittipaldi as well. So yeah, a bit of a sad one for him, but hopefully he'll be able to bounce back in the last 2 races. Meanwhile, Lando Norris is closing us down with that DRS. Is he going to go for a move up the inside? He thought about it, but he wasn't quite close enough to pull it off. And you can see it seems like there's some kind of yellow flags come out. That's for one of the Red Bulls. Not sure which one that it was. I think it flashed up on the screen now. That's George Russell out of the session. Surely not. Surely the stars have not aligned like this for me. We will see in just a moment what's happened, but it's brought out a safety car as well, which means that we will be able to catch up this gap we've got to Charles Leclerc in front. So let's have a look. Lando Norris tried to go up the inside of me, hopped over the curb, was slow through the corner, and George Russell just ploughed straight into the back of him. Sergio Perez will also retire due to a mechanical failure under this safety car period as well. So 6 laps deep into this race, we've already had 3 retirements. We said goodbye to Lawson, Perez, and George Russell. The championship leader is out of this race. I am going to use this as an opportunity to come into the pit lane, because I know that the hard compound tyres can do enough laps to the end of the race. Yes, they will be very worn by the end of the race, but this is a real opportunity for us to try and close down the gap in the championship. If we can get an absolutely impossible to catch lead off the back of pitting under this safety car, we will have absolutely no threat for the rest of this race other than just trying to carve our way through the field, getting our way up as many positions as we can before everyone pits, and then, you know, just making sure that we don't get caught by everybody who will be pitting later. And if we can pull that off, this should be a very free race victory for me now here in Portugal. George Russell scoring no points. We have a chance to close a massive margin to him today, and Lord knows we need to if we want any chance of staying involved in this championship fight. I may have just been handed a lifeline. Verstappen pits. That's one position I won't have to make up on track. Now let's see if we can make our way through the cars in front. We're a little bit far back on them, but they break a bit earlier than I was expecting there, and we're able to go up the inside of 3 of them. Joe, Tsunoda and Stroll already dispatched off of this safety car restart. We're up into P15, and the way we're looking, we should be able to make up more and more positions quite quickly, as you can see that Gasly has stopped quite early, involved in this this restart train. Of course, they're all on worn-out soft compound tyres by this point, so I am just going to look better and better over the course of this end to the stint for these soft compound runners. They will not be able to contend with me on these fresh hard compound tyres, so I just need to try and do everything I possibly can to make up as many positions as quickly as I can before that pit stop phase, which I think is coming in around lap 14 is when it will start, and we'll see people coming in from about then off those soft compound tyres, and we'll be going to the end on whatever set of tyres they do manage to switch on. We've already made up 5 positions off of the safety car restart, 6 if you include Verstappen pitting as well, so we're looking very, very good. Got ahead of Alex Albon there, who you know, he started, don't forget, all the way at the back of the grid. He's already made his way up into, it was 13th, he's now 14th. He's had a very strong start to the race. There's quite a few cars here who are really benefiting from all the chaos that's happening. I think Nick De Vries is actually running in the points right now, if you can believe it. So, yeah, a lot of people benefiting from all the chaos that's happened. We're going to try and get ahead of our former teammates now. 3 of them in a row. It's Magnussen, then it will be Doohan, then it will be Fittipaldi. I think that Hauger is currently running quite far up in P4 by the looks of things. So he's had a very, very good start to the race, especially considering I don't think he actually made it out of Q2. We're getting ahead of Doohan now. We've already got ahead of Magnussen, and now we're going to try and get ahead of Enzo Fittipaldi as well if we can. We're going to have to try and clear him very, very quickly here, but you know, in a Williams, of course, on those used soft compound tyres, it should be fairly doable as we end the speed up moment there. I'm going to try and cut on the inside of Enzo Fittipaldi here. We go wheel to wheel with him through this next sequence of corners, but eventually he just doesn't have the pace to contend with us. We're burning this battery, of course, and now we're going to have the DRS on Nick De Vries in front. Hopefully we'll be able to clear him nice and quickly as well. We are looking very, very strong at this moment. Charles Leclerc definitely has not pulled anywhere close to a pit stop's worth of gap on us, and I mean, at the rate we're overtaking, we could be at the front of the field even before the pit stop phase comes in. That would be a remarkable situation to find ourselves in. I think at the moment the driver that we're most likely to be fighting with is going to be Max Verstappen, to be honest, because he, of course, has pitted as well. So he should be the driver that will be in P2 after this pit stop phase and everything has happened. We are ahead of Nick De Vries now. We're going to see if we can get ahead of Théo Pourchaire, not a former teammate of ours on this year's game, of course, but he did drive for us for a time in F1 22, if I'm not mistaken. And, well, we seem to be getting a pretty good run on him. I don't know if he has the DRS on Frederick Vesti ahead. I think he just was in that range, but it doesn't seem to be that important to him. We should just be able to dive up the inside of the French driver, get on the curb a little bit, almost squeeze him out, left him just enough room. And that's actually put us out of the DRS range of Frederick Vesti, crucially. So we probably won't make up too many more positions off the remainder of the stint before everyone comes into pit. So we will be getting. I was going to say we'll be getting ahead of Frederick Vesti there, but you might have seen there I had a bit of a jolt, which gave me a track limits warning. That's some sort of track stitching error that exists around Portimao that I have real difficulty with, especially in sort of qualifying and practice sessions. It's actually the reason why I have flashbacks enabled, is almost specifically to counter problems like that. I think there's a stitching error that exists in Spain as well, and maybe there are other tracks that exist that I don't know as well. But it's really annoying when you get your lap time deleted due to something that really is not really fair, to be perfectly frank. So as Norris pits, he's got that 5-second penalty due to the contact with Russell, which I think was honestly very unfair. But it does mean that we will be making up another position here for free. Now we're right on the back of Esteban Ocon coming to the end of lap 15, and we're going to dive up the inside of him. And we should be close enough here to our other former teammate, Dennis Hauger, who drove for us for 2 seasons early on in this career mode, of course. And that should allow us to maintain the DRS, keep the position ahead of Esteban Ocon, and crucially now Leclerc and Logan Sargent are both coming into the pit, so this is going to promote us up to P2, and there is only one position sat in my way of being P1 in this race. We weren't quite fast enough to overtake Dennis Hauger, but you know, we don't have to be now, because the gap behind to Verstappen, I don't know what it's going to be, but it doesn't really matter, quite frankly, because of how sort of how far ahead I am ahead of him. He only pitted sort of, I think, 2 or 3 laps later than we did, and as Hauger and Ocon come into the pit lane now, I imagine Fittipaldi will be as well. The gap behind to the nearest car is going to be 16.5 seconds. with only 16 laps to go and the pace that I've been showing in this race, you would imagine that they will not catch me before the end of the race. We'll see what the gap to Charles Leclerc is in just a second, as Verstappen now has overtaken everyone through the pits. I imagine Leclerc will be too. Yes, you can see it's 21 seconds back to Charles Leclerc, so surely I will be able to maintain this gap. But as we make our way towards the end of lap 19, you can see that things actually weren't going quite the way I'd planned. Leclerc was already 15 seconds behind us, and Yuki Tsunoda, the back marker, was not possible to get ahead of him. But there is now a red flag. A red flag has been called. This could be our saving grace in the race. I know what you're thinking. This is neutralizing my advantage, but we'll see why the red flag has come out. It appears it's Esteban Ocon, actually, who was running in the points. No longer. He collects one of the Mercedes drivers there who crashed into him, and seems like the other one has as well. So Mercedes seem to be magnetized to crashing into that Red Bull, but that has massively compromised Ocon's race. But the reason why I think that this is a potentially good situation for us is because it enables us to switch onto another set of soft compound tyres, or medium compound tyres potentially. I think we are actually going to go onto the mediums. And it means that this tyre disadvantage we've been on has also been neutralised, and we should be able to get going as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway here compared to Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, all of these guys on the soft compound tyres except myself. But will I be able to hold them off for 12 laps on these medium compound tyres, or will the soft compound tyres prove to be the stronger compound? If I can break away from the cars behind by 1 second within 2 laps, that would be ideal, but given the strength of the tyres they're going to be on, I think that is going to be a very tall task for us to achieve today. But you know, I'm optimistic. We've shown good pace around here pretty much all weekend. We were looking good in qualifying. I think we would have been right up there if it hadn't been for all the unpredictability with the weather. And our pace in this race, our race pace here around Portimao, has been utterly imperious to what I'm used to around this circuit. Usually it feels like I only go backwards. Little Tame Impala reference for you guys there. That was completely unintentional. But yeah, it feels like I only go backwards at this circuit typically. But here we seem to be looking pretty good. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull away from Charles Leclerc. We definitely don't seem to be quite as susceptible to him as I was expecting we would be. And so maybe there does exist an opportunity for us, if we can use the battery to our advantage as well. Maybe there exists an opportunity for us to potentially, hold on to the victory in this race. That would be an absolutely sensational situation to find ourselves in. If we can win from 9th on the grid, with George Russell scoring 0 points, it will be a 1-2 for the team as well, with Esteban Ocon currently down in P18. This has suddenly turned into an absolute dream for us. You know, obviously, I don't wish a crash upon any driver, but to see that George Russell is, okay out of the session, just getting a bit unlucky, honestly, it's nice to see him getting unlucky. With all the lack of luck that we've had, it was only right that George Russell surely should have a bit of misfortune of his own. And it means that if we can hold on to this, I don't think we'll be getting fastest lap here by the looks of things. So we will be closing the gap by 25 points. It will reduce the deficit that I have to George Russell in the championship from 52 points to 27 points. Yes, it's still a huge margin in the last 2 races, but it's a lot more workable than 52 points is. Or say I'd finished P1 here and he finished I think he was running in P4 before the accident happened. So if he'd finished P4, that would have been 12 points, and the gap would only be 39 points, which is a much less workable gap. But this way, if he gets a P4 and a P5, and I get 2 race victories in these last couple of races of the season, we will be talking about a situation where I will be winning the championship by, I think, a single point, barring, fastest laps and that kind of thing. But, yes, suddenly things are looking absolutely electric for us. We've pulled away from Charles Leclerc here. He won't be catching us now. Those soft compound tyres will definitely have gone past their sort of best point, and we'll be starting to tail off a little bit. And I'm just absolutely amazed that this situation has happened. This was not what I predicted after we qualified in P9. I was thinking to myself, okay, this is probably just championship over straight away. If I've got any chance of closing out the championship, we're going to have to do something special here. We had that absolutely fantastic start. We called the strategy to absolute perfection. And as we come on to lap 33 now, nothing is going to stop me from winning this race, apart from a potential error in my own driving. But am I nervous? No, because there's a 2-second gap behind. So I can just drive at the pace that I know I'm capable of, to the checkered flag, and we should be absolutely fine here in Portugal. I can't quite believe that this has happened. This is just completely beyond any kind of comprehension I could have had. This has the stars have aligned here in Portugal, quite frankly, and now it might be championship back on, quite frankly. That's all I can say. Championship is well and truly back on with 3 races, or I say 2 races now left to go. There is a real opportunity as we cross the line to win the Portuguese Grand Prix.
So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
What an amazing race today. We all love to see an overtake as a Formula One fan, and we got those by the bucket load.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Well, I certainly don't think that we are going to have a more impactful race to the season than this one, quite frankly, unless, you know, by some crazy situation George Russell has another DNF before the end of the season. We still need to get incredibly lucky, but if this does turn out to be a championship winning season for us, it will be a very, very richly deserved one. Charles Leclerc getting that P2 there to potentially really help us in the Constructors' Championship fight as well, and it will be Max Verstappen grabbing that P3 here today as well.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. It was not the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Robinson.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, I mean, this has just completely flipped everything on its head here. Now Charles Leclerc is suddenly looking like a bit of a favourite for P3 in the Drivers' Championship. We are 27 points behind George Russell. Like I said, it's still an absolutely massive margin to overcome, and in only 2 races it may still not be possible, but it's certainly looking a lot more possible than it was before. The Constructors' Championship, suddenly I would start arguing if Leclerc can hit some good form in these last couple of races in Vegas and Abu Dhabi, if he can have good races in both of those races, with the form that Ocon has been showing lately in particular, but also, you know, George Russell, if he has a few stinkers as well, Constructors' Championship looking like ours. I reckon even if I don't win the Drivers' Championship, the Constructors' Championship, we should hopefully be able to do that. And yeah, I can't say enough how unprecedented this is. This is not how I expected this to go. You know, I don't script these videos at all. These videos are 100% completely off the cuff. Whatever happens, happens. We got incredibly lucky on F122 that all 4 of the championship battles I was involved in went down to the final race, you know, and obviously in Season 7 we had that pretty biblical situation where Alex Albon had 4 DNFs in a row at the end of the season to kind of gift me the championship when he was something like 50 points ahead going into the... I can't remember which race it was, but 4 races before the end, he was so far ahead of me that I was like, well, this is just championship over already, basically. And somehow we managed to bring that one back. This would be an even crazier escape than that if it came true, because this is 52 points with 3 races left to go. You know, on this year's game, the scripting or lack of scripting has kind of come back to bite us a little bit. Yes, we had that championship fight with Norris go down to the final race, but I didn't even win that championship. And then in Season 5 and 6, I wrapped up the championship with multiple races to go. So, yeah, the storylines on this year's game, up until Season 7, I would argue, haven't been anywhere near as enthralling as they were on F122. But this season in particular has been so back and forth, so up and down, so unpredictable. The unreliability has caused absolute chaos here in Season 7. And I really just can't speak highly enough of how much I've enjoyed racing this final season. You know, sometimes getting through these seasons can be a bit of a slog. You know, we do 23 races and I think to myself, you know, Do we need to be doing this many races? Could I potentially cut down the calendar? This season, the 23 race calendar has just made it. It feels like every single race delivers. Every single race, the storylines get more and more impactful. They get bigger and better. You know, this situation, this battle between ourselves and Red Bull has been brewing basically the whole season. You know, Aston Martin and Alpine were involved in there a little bit earlier on in the season, but eventually they fall by the wayside to give way to this absolutely incredible battle for both the drivers and the constructors going on between these two teams. And I cannot stress how excited I am for these final 2 races of the season to see who is going to emerge victorious in both of these championships. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.